Because you're also not a call woman too. I always have to, yeah, I always have to, yeah. Yeah, I, wow.
Okay, we're just about ready to start, folks. Okay.
Welcome. I am Brenda Schroeb, one of the worship associates at Community Church, and I welcome you on behalf of our ministry team, our staff, and all our lay leaders. It is good to be together, in person and online. Community Church is a multiracial, multicultural, multi-generational congregation with a vision and commitment to build a world grounded in equity and inclusion. Today's worship team also includes Jerry Brown, our music director, Darnell White, our musician in residence, our choir, Carrie McAvoy, one of our intern ministers, Errol de los Santos, our communications coordinator, Amy Wilson, our broadcaster, and Reverend Peggy Clark, our senior minister. It's a gift that so many of us have access to vaccines, allowing us to live a little more freely. Those of us under the age of 12, and many of us who are immunocompromised, don't have access or the same levels of safety. In the spirit of welcome, we're asking congregants to keep masks on while we're indoors as we help to protect the most vulnerable among us. We are trying a few things with our programs. For those watching at home, there should be a link available to you so you can access the full program. For those here in the Hall of Worship, there is a very simple order of service for you to have in hand. There is also a full program with the week's announcement available using the QR code. When we do this, we save paper and the cost of printing, which makes our services more sustainable. Today's topic is holding on, a theology of attachment. Please rise in body or spirit, and let's sing together our opening hymn, Morning Has Come. That's 1000 in the Teal hymnal.
Good morning. It's so good to see you all here. Let's begin with our call to worship. Are you having a little trouble hearing me? You know, I can do, no? Turn. Is that better? Okay. Let's begin. Come into this shared space made holy by our presence, made holy by our joy and our laughter, made holy by our sadness and our tears, made holy by our questions and our curiosity. Come into this shared space with all of yourself. Bring your history, bring your memories, bring the parts of you that you want to be still and quiet. Bring the parts of you that want to sing at the top of your lungs. When we're together, the ordinary is sanctified, the extraordinary is celebrated. When we're together, gratitude has reason to run rampant. This is the day we have been given. Let us be glad and rejoice in it. We're going to light our chalice.
Let us now say our chalice lighting words together. We light this candle, the flame of our heritage. May it ignite hope in our lives, in our community, and in the world. And now, please join me in our unison affirmation. The words are in our program. Unto the Church Universal, which is the depository of all ancient wisdom and the school of all modern thought, which recognizes in all prophets a harmony, in all scriptures a unity, and through all dispensations a continuity, which abjures all that separates and divides, and always magnifies freedom and peace, which seeks truth in freedom, justice in love, and individual discipline in social duty, and which shall make of all persons one beloved community, unto this church and unto all its members, known and unknown, throughout the world, we pledge the allegiance of our hands and hearts. At the heart of our shared spiritual path is community. As community, we welcome each other and we share concern for one another. Ushers, could you please take this moment to bring up the cards for the pastoral prayer? And all of us gathered here, let us turn to one another and greet both those we know and those we have the joy of meeting.
Friends, can we find our way back to our seats? Great. Let's do it again once they sit down.
Let us now join our voices in our land acknowledgement, which is also found in our program. We are gathered on the unceded land of the Lenape peoples. I ask you to join me in acknowledging the Lenape community, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. Community Church of New York also acknowledges that it was founded upon exclusions and erasures of many indigenous peoples, including those on whose land this institution is located. This acknowledgement demonstrates a commitment to beginning the process of working to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. I invite us now into a space of meditation and prayer. This week, like the week before and the week before that, much has happened. Celebrations of births and birthdays, loss of loved ones, of health, of livelihoods, arguments over what is freedom and what is responsibility, neighbors helping neighbors, neighbors harming neighbors, people nurturing nature, people destroying nature, love and hate, good and evil, care and violence, all are wielded by the human hand. An act of one does not prevent the act of the other. It is always a choice. Every new moment ripens for a different choice. What we fear is the loss of that which we love. And grief cannot exist without love of that which was lost. Fear is love. Grief is love. All is love. Thank you to this community for our continued thoughts and prayers for Aunt Lucille. We hold in our hearts Ellen, who is suffering from a leg infection. And we send our prayers for Ms. Sally Azadou. I hope I pronounced that correctly. We pray for those affected by the political turmoil in Afghanistan. We remember the Haitians and all other migrants and refugees as they seek safe haven. We remember those who died and were injured in the train derailment in Montana. And we hold in our hearts all concerns and joys held in our hearts. May all these joys and griefs and hopes, both spoken and silent, be held in prayer. Amen.
Today's reading is excerpts from Audacity to Hope by Reverend Jeremiah Wright. Before the reading, I share these words with you. Truth and wisdom are found in many places from many sources. May we be open to it always. Several years ago in Richmond, I heard the preaching and teaching of Reverend Frederick Sampson. In one of his lectures, Dr. Sampson spoke of a painting I remembered. The painting's title is Hope. It shows a woman sitting on top of the world playing a harp. What more enviable position could one ever hope to achieve than being on top of the world with everyone dancing to your music? As you look closer, the illusion of power gives way to the reality of pain. The world on which this woman sits, our world, is torn by war, destroyed by hate, decimated by despair, and devastated by distrust. The world on which she sits seems on the brink of destruction. Famine ravages millions of inhabitants in one hemisphere, while feasting and gluttony are enjoyed by inhabitants of another. You and I think of being on top of the world as being in heaven. When you look at the woman in Watts' painting, you discover this woman is in hell. She's wearing rags. Scars and cuts are visible on her face, her arms, and her legs. A closer look reveals all the harp strings but one are broken or ripped out. Even the instrument has been damaged by what she has been through. And she is the classic example of quiet despair. Yet the artist dares to entitle the painting Hope. Dr. Sampson said he wanted to quarrel with the artist for having the gall to name that painting Hope, when all he could see in the picture was desperation. But above her head, he found some small notes of music moving joyfully and playfully toward heaven. Then he began to understand why the artist titled the painting Hope. In spite of being in a world torn by war, in spite of being on a world where apathy feed the fires of racism and hatred, with her clothes in rags, her body scarred and bruised and bleeding, her harp all but destroyed, and with only one string left, she had the audacity to make music. The real lesson is how to hope when despair is most evident. To take the one string you have left and to have the audacity to hope, make music, and praise God on and with whatever it is you've got left. Here ends today's reading.
Hold on to me, 'cause I'm a little unsteady, a little unsteady. Hold on to me, 'cause I'm a little unsteady, a little unsteady. Mama, come here, approach, appear. Daddy, I'm alone, 'cause this house don't feel like home. And if you love me, don't let go. If you love me, don't let go. Hold on to me, 'cause I'm a little unsteady, a little unsteady. Hold on to me, 'cause I'm a little unsteady, a little unsteady. Mother, I know you're tired of being alone. Dad, I know you're trying to fight when you feel like flying. But if you love me, don't let go. If you love me, don't let go. Hold to me, 'cause I'm a little unsteady, a little unsteady. Hold on to me, 'cause I'm a little unsteady, a little unsteady. Hold on to me. I'm a little unsteady, a little unsteady.
I'm going to need to follow him less often. We, the Congregation of Community Church of New York, have the very difficult and emotional task of letting go of our church buildings. We thought we were going to have a final vote on the contract today, but it's more likely in another month. Whenever it is, we are the bearers of this process. We are the ones who will carry the sadness as well as the labor of keeping the congregation alive and well through a period of as many as 5 years before we can enter our new space. The expected thing for me to preach today would be the practice of letting go. It's well-worn, it's beautiful in many ways. It just isn't my theology. I think it would be disingenuous for me to ask you to practice detachment when my own theology leads me to a practice of attachment. And it's not that detachment doesn't work. It can be a very powerful tool. It's been very powerful in my life at different times. I've left some really good jobs I liked but knew I needed to let go of. And each time I had the same experience. I decided to leave, and then I started to like my job more. Has this happened to you? Where you decide to leave, and then you're like, actually, it's really great here? There's this one job. I actually stayed for a full 2 years after making the decision to leave. I was thinking, like, I'll resign in a month. I'll go in 2 months. I'll leave after the semester. 2 full years pass, and I was still there. The decision to leave let me detach. I was less concerned about the outcome of any of what was happening around me. I could tolerate difficult people or burdensome policies more easily. I wasn't stressed about other people's mistakes because I figured I'm not going to be here to clean that up. I spoke the truth more freely because I knew the worst consequences that I was going to get fired, which was perfectly acceptable outcome. In fact, it might mean severance pay. Detaching was liberating. The spiritual practice of detachment is well documented. Many traditions offer the tools to help. Meditate, just watch your thoughts, watch your worries float by like on a river. Focus on the moment. Don't allow yourself to be hurt or caught by thoughts or outcomes. Be here now. Let go and let God. It all makes sense. And to be clear, I'm not disparaging that or any other spiritual path. It's all good. Whatever brings you joy, whatever inspires compassion is worthy, and I'm here to accompany you on your way. It just isn't my way. I don't want to separate myself from the world. I want to dive in. I want it to surround me. I want to be engulfed by the intensity of it. I want to feel the air, to breathe it deeply. I want to worry about the balance of carbon and oxygen. I want to feel connected to every aerobic being every time I inhale. I want to witness the world, not as a bystander, not as someone who plans to do something else, to go somewhere else, but as full participant, touching and smelling and tasting everything. I want to stand on the corner of 35th and Park and hear the traffic. I do this sometimes when I need a break. I just stand there, I'm sure looking like a little mad, and I just listen to the traffic. I watch the way a motorcycle can stop a conversation. I observe the rhythm of pedestrians as they cross the street. I want to be part of the pulse of the city, the movement of the neighborhood. I want to make noise as much as I want to find quiet corners. I want all of it. On the other side of detachment is presence, witness, attention. We have a world filled with the neglected, the forgotten, the abandoned, people without homes, sleeping on sidewalks right in front of us, who we ignore. Animals left in shelters we desperately want to block from our minds. Children without food, elders with dementia, forests being decimated, so much pain in the world that detachment can feel like the only way to get through. Attachment isn't an easy way to live. Compassion might break your heart. That's the spiritual practice. Letting your heart break open so far, the whole world falls in. It's then that we are all in, that we are living fully engaged, feeling and knowing and being with all of life. Unitarian minister William Ellery Channing urged writer Henry David Thoreau to spend some time in the woods. He told him, "Go out, build yourself a hut, and there begin the process of devouring yourself alive." So Thoreau borrowed a cabin from Ralph Waldo Emerson, and during his 2 years there, he wrote the essay Walden, in which he tells us, "I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life, and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not when I came to die discover that I had not lived. I did not wish to live what was not life, living is so dear, nor did I wish to practice resignation unless it was quite necessary. I wanted to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life, to live so sturdily and Spartan-like as to put to rout all that was not life, to cut a broad swath and shave close, to drive life into a corner and reduce it to its lowest terms." Those words are seductive. Thoreau didn't stay at Walden for too long. He wrote, "I left the woods for as good a reason as I went there. Perhaps it seemed to me that I had several more lives to live, and I could not spare any more time for that one." There is so much life to live. And life is complicated. It's filled with both pain and joy, prone to violence, but also to compassion so powerful that witnessing it can be transformative. In my life, there's been real suffering, and I know that's true for you too. Death is real and often devastating, even when entirely expected. There are pains we inflict on one another, casually, intentionally, mindlessly, sometimes consistently for years, and there are traumatized people bearing the weight of that cruelty. There's also beauty, equally mindless, often as casual, or profoundly healing, whether it's the intentional acts of one person for another or the natural state of the planet that we're just lucky to have been born on. We only live one life, and there's a sadness in that too. Most of us want more life. We want second chances, another chance to be a child, to go to college, to make different decisions, sometimes because we could have done better, and sometimes because we're just curious about what all the other paths we haven't had a chance to explore might lead. But there's only this one. And while we can change course, we can't go back. So let's live this one life awake. Let's experience it all, as much as we possibly can. Let's not miss it. I'm not saying we should live well. It's a different thing. We're all doing the best we can to live well. I'm saying let's be present and open to all of it, any of it, even those awful parts that hurt so badly, even those parts of life that leave us lying in bed sobbing. I want to be present for that too. The sobbing, the laughing, the fear, the anger, the joy. It's all part of this one life. And it goes beyond any of our individual lives. It's about becoming an active and fully engaged part of the healing of the whole world. This is ours, all of it, and it's all worth holding on to. Annie Dillard, a transcendentalist like Thoreau, has the same impulse for attachment, for leaning in, for being awake to it all. Because theology is really poetry, best told in story, she writes of the weasel. A weasel is wild. Who knows what he thinks? He sleeps in his underground den, his tail draped over his nose. Sometimes he lives in his den for 2 days without leaving. Outside he stalks rabbits, mice, muskrats, and birds, killing more bodies than he can eat warm and dragging the carcasses home. One naturalist refused to kill a weasel who was socketed into his hand deeply as a rattlesnake. The man could in no way pry the tiny weasel off and had to walk 1/2 mile to water, the weasel dangling from his palm and soaking him off like a stubborn label. And once a man shot an eagle out of the sky. He examined the eagle and found the dry skull of a weasel fixed by the jaws to his throat. The supposition is that the eagle had pounced on the weasel, and the weasel swiveled and bit as instinct taught him, tooth to neck, and nearly won. I would like to have seen that eagle from the air a few weeks or months before he was shot. Was the whole weasel still attached to his feathered throat, a fur pendant? Or did the eagle eat what he could reach, gutting the living weasel with his talons before his breast, bending his beak, cleaning the beautiful airborne bones? I would think it would be well and proper and obedient and pure to grasp your one necessity and not let it go, to dangle from it limp wherever it takes you. There's a spirit in this universe, a heartbeat, a breath. It's part of every leaf, every rock. It's buried in the soil beneath the city, and it's in the wind blowing between buildings. It is closer to me than I am to my own thoughts, present to you when you were born, and in every breath taken since. This isn't a God outside myself, but a God of myself, both me and not me, both alive and the quality of living itself. We call her mother, we call her wisdom, we call her spirit, but those are small words in comparison. This is the way of ultimate reality, the ground of being, the beginning and the end. We connect with this spirit of life by sinking our teeth in, by sucking the marrow from the bones of life, which is what many of us have done with this church. For 200 years, people have belonged here. have donated money and time and a lot of attention. I'll walk us through a whole history next week, but we're part of the story of this church, and not wanting to let it go is real. And the love we feel, even for the bricks and the mortar, is good. I'm not going to tell any of us to let it go, to detach, that these are only buildings. No, I say feel it. Lean into it. Many of us are sad, even heartbroken, about losing a space that has felt so safe. It's a second home. It's a spiritual home, a place we can own, a place we can be known, a place our lives have been witnessed, where we bear witness to each other's lives. And how many children have been dedicated here? How many weddings? How many have been mourned? There are people buried in this building. I hope you join me in grieving this loss. We will hold on to all it's meant to us and all it meant to the hundreds of people who have worshiped here in these last 74 years. The walls hold the prayers of generations. The music is living in this floor. Important words have been spoken here, and when we're quiet, we can still feel their power. This is a place to love, embrace it, lament its loss, bemoan and remember and weep if it feels right. Our next adventure is close by. We'll want to be the kind of people who throw ourselves into the life we're offered, who know that loving is never wrong, even if it means we're going to get hurt. I am so grateful to be with all of you in this. And I'm grateful for this song we're about to sing together, because if anything is true, if any of this is real, it is love that is going to get us through.
Like angel and sound.
Life at Community Church is busy, whether we are online or in person. It is our hope that wherever you are and in whatever way you are comfortable engaging in the mission and ministry of this church, we have provided opportunities for you. Today, during Fellowship Hour, we will continue our StoryCorps experience, both in person and online. Please share your stories so we can create this digital memory as part of our church archive. Our young adult group, designed for people 18 to 40, is meeting on Monday at 7:30 online. If you'd like to join, please speak with any of our church leaders and we'll help you get connected. On Thursday, Reverend Chris Long is starting a program at noon called Art, Spirituality, and Healing. It will be held weekly online. Sign-in information is on our website. We are a 7-day church, and most of our program happens on Zoom. If you'd like to connect with other UUs, check the website for the schedule. Every Sunday, we pass a basket to support the many ministries of this congregation. Our spiritual home thrives as a result of our generosity of time, talent, and treasure. We receive these gifts in gratitude. May the ushers come forward.
Please join me now in our chalice extinguishing words. Knowing how quickly the flame of truth may be extinguished, how easily the chalice of fellowship broken, let us be vigilant in faith, keep peace in our hearts, and make care for one another the watchword of our lives together. So our light goes out
everywhere into the world. Our light goes out into the world, bringing healing and hope to all the places it's needed. Let us go in peace to love and serve the world and one another.
Thank you.